Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. Our guest today is Midori Francis, whose newly released film Unseen is now streaming on demand. And you got to check this out. Midori, thank you for being our guest. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Like I said, I love your graphic. I love the blood.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's get started. I spoke to your director, Yoko, about a week ago, and she had some great takes on the film from a director standpoint. I'd love to hear your point of view. And the film starts right off the bat at 60 miles per hour. We see your character, Emily, being held hostage by her ex boyfriend, Charlie. Now, as an actor, starting a film, I don't know if it was shot in sequential order or not, but does that present a challenge from you as you're trying to build Emily's backstory, starting midpoint and filling in the blanks as we go along?
Yeah, I would say not a challenge, but definitely an opportunity and some necessary homework, you know. What Yoko did so well, I'm so glad you got to talk to her, was really, I think, ground the thriller and the horror nature of this into something, that could actually happen.
Yeah.
And as she puts it, it is a horrific situation, but it's not impossible. And she did a great job. We talked about this a lot. Like, there are these relationships that you are in and you're in them for a reason, and there's love, but there's also a lot of red flags and you don't always listen to them. And I think that this is one of those situations that just escalated.
Oh,
And so yeah, but building in, I don't know if remember, but like when Emily's waking up and you see that moment where she smiles at Charlie, and you see that there was this relationship
yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's not just some crazy rando person.
Yeah, yeah, she knows
So
this person, and we
yeah.
don't know if that's more terrifying or less terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, as you were reading the script and you were reading about Emily, were there any characteristics of Emily that you found relatable?
I think more the circumstances of, I knew that this was going to have to be a fighter, like somebody who is really just tooth and nail, getting in the dirt and ready to fight for their life. And I think I have a lot of energy as a person, and I'm easily bored. And so I think that my natural disposition and like my kind of, my hunger to do things, I knew it would align well with the circumstance. For example, like as you said, it goes 60 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour. There's constant running. I love to run. And so I knew I would be ready for that to like, sink my teeth into it. In terms of her character, I think Emily, being an ER doctor, being really logical, being Yoko always says that without her eye problem, without her vision problem, she could probably get out of the woods by herself.
Yeah.
She's calm, she's collected, she knows how to handle these things. And I think that's more Emily than it is me. I think if it was me, I would be freaking out a lot more. I would waste a lot of time freaking out.
Yeah, yeah. Now, of course, your co-star is Jolene Purdy. Excellent job as Sam. How would you describe the relationship that develops between Emily and Sam as this film goes along?
Kind of amazing because, Sam is the farthest thing from someone that Emily would think to call.
Hmm.
She's really to her a random girl who's working as a cashier in Florida.
Yeah.
And what's so amazing, what I love is, those times in life when you meet somebody and you really don't have anything in common, but circumstance brings you together because you
Hmm.
survived something together, you're stuck somewhere together, or, your mom's friends with someone and you have to talk to somebody, and then somehow you end up being friends. And I,
Yeah.
I love that. That's kind of what I think happens to Emily and Sam.
And that's a big factor of what makes this film so good and relatable to the audience. At least it was for me. Now, Yoko told us that, as expected, you and Jolene shot your scene separately, but Jolene flew in to be with you on the set while you
Yeah.
did your scenes. I was like, really, wow, that's great. How did that make you feel?
I was so moved, honestly. Like she did not have to do that.
No.
And she was out there with me, and I think it made me feel so not alone. Because it was a lot doing what I was doing every day. And we were shooting fast and it was raining and it was cold and it was like, 15 hours go. And she was right there just cheering me on. And so I think I was in retrospect, like I really appreciate it even more.
I know. That was such a great
Yeah.
thing she did. Now, obviously, this is a very physically intensive role. You're in the woods the whole time. Describe the conditions and how did you prepare for them?
Well, I got the job in December and I filmed in January. And
Oh,
it was winter in New York. I was in hibernation mode. Honestly, I think as you near December, if you haven't booked a job, you're not really expecting to work right after the holidays. So I was not in my best shape. And so I think I spent that month like at the gym doing weights. Like I really just built up my stamina because I just knew. I read the script and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to be ready for this.
and when it was done, was it even more challenging than you expected it to be?
Actually, no,
Okay.
believe it or not. I
Okay.
was, as an actor, I had been doing a lot of great stuff, don't get me wrong, but a lot of comedy, a lot of rom-com. I was so ready to do something like this. I was like leaping out of my bed in the morning. I was like, yeah, get me in there. There's always this joke because they had these fake zip ties in the
Uh-huh.
beginning because they didn't want to hurt me, but they just kept coming undone. And I was like, I can't, this is like the and then so Jolene and Yoko always make fun of me because they would just hear me going, tighter, can you make them tighter?
Now, as the
So
film progresses, we see a role reversal between Emily and Sam. And Emily feels defeated, wants to give up. What in your mind was the moment where we see this strong character in Emily want to give up?
I think at that point in the movie, I would be surprised if anybody was not understanding why she
Yeah,
wanted to give up. I mean, geez, like
yeah,
so much, 9 lives. And I think what's beautiful about that moment is Emily starts strong. She's like, you could tell in her eyes, like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure this out. She's not gonna win. And at this point, I think it's so cold. She's so wounded, and I think she's so tired.
yeah,
And I think that after that last fall, I think she's just like, I don't think
yeah. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah,
I'm done. I think she feels that she's maybe physically not strong enough to keep running. So
absolutely.
yeah, and it's beautiful. I love when Sam's character that Jolene does so well when she finally like gets her strength. It's so awesome.
That is an amazing scene. Now,
Yeah.
in your opinion, do you think Emily's ambitions in life, becoming an ER doctor, are driven because of the relationship she has with her mother?
Yeah, I think for sure.
Okay,
I think
so
for
I
sure.
mean, does she want to prove something to her mother? And if she does, what do you think that is?
I think that there's a lot of knowing that her mom has made sacrifices for her and as she says in the movie, wanting to give her a better life. I think that that's all true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that often as happens in real life, work can distract you from your initial goals, right? Like if you
Yeah,
become an artist to feel more in touch with the world, often you'll find yourself like so disconnected and focusing on all the wrong things. And I think similarly, she probably went into this with the best intentions of like making her mom proud. I mean, I think she talks about her mom was also in the ER, so she wants to spend more time with her, work harder. And then what's sad is at this point when you find her in the movie, she hasn't really spent a lot of time with her mom. And it's only in realizing that she might never see her again that she has those regrets of like, wow, I really let work kind of take over my life.
what really struck me is the moment you're telling Sam that about your mom wanting to take you to Japan, and that is the only thing she has ever asked of you, and you can hear the guilt, the regret in your voice that you were not able to fulfill that one thing that your mom asked from you. I thought that was
Yeah.
very touching. Were there any characteristics of Emily that you really needed Yoko's help with?
Um, I think that there were times when Yoko's understanding of the character were really helpful to me. And it was primarily in building this kind of person who, you know, when I was dealing with Jolene as Sam, me and Jolene always joked like it was like, come on, Sam, like you got a lady dying. This isn't the time for your self-doubt, like
Yeah,
um But when I would sort of get frustrated as the character, Yoko would remind me, like, you're playing a character who's really good under crisis and who is methodical and can detach her emotions when she needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes you be able to actually coach Sam through her anxiety, is you could tell that and so taking that step back and not being as reactive, I think that's something Yoko really helped me craft.
Very
Um,
nice.
yeah.
Now, Emily, it's very well noted. It's part of the synopsis. You're dealing with a very severe nearsighted condition. Okay.
Yeah.
So we see how Yoko portrayed it to the audience, how we see through your eyes. As you were making your way through the woods and you have to show us this condition, how did you approach that? Were there any methods, advice? Tell us about that.
So the good news is that when I got the script, I already was like, oh my, one of the compelling things to me was that Emily couldn't see without her glasses, because I, without my contacts, can't really see very well. I
Same
can't
here.
drive. Yeah, I can't really function in the way that I need to.
Yeah.
So immediately when I got the script, I was like, this is something I've already been afraid of. I've literally, when they say you're stranded on an island, I've always thought, well, what will I do when my contacts fall out? Like, and so I actually, as part of my prep, I took out my contacts and I went outside and I just explored the world within that space. And then I took note of how it felt.
Yeah.
And and you do kind of start to see things differently. It's more about large shapes. I noticed, light is different, and you know, so I did do some research in that way. I was my own test subject.
Yeah, and that's great because people who don't have an eye condition like for you and me, nearsightedness, we feel vulnerable when our
Yes.
contacts or glasses are out because the world is a big blur and we don't know, and it's very scary in itself. Now, this film is a survival thriller, but it goes way deeper than that, dealing with depression, abuse, and whatnot. In your opinion, is that what makes this film so good? That it touches on all these different issues?
Yeah, I do. I think that it takes it to another level. Seeing these two women who are so different, and thinking that this is about Emily's life needing to be saved, but learning that Sam's life also really needed to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think of horror, we do think of the more obvious things, like somebody trying to murder you, but we don't think of the horror that can always, depression is a horror. And Sam's dealing with horror. She
Yeah.
wants to end her life because of the horror that's going on in her mind. And so I think that really roots it. And you're right, like the friendship and what they lean on each other for. I do think it takes it to another level, and I was excited about that. And I think Yoko just hit the nail on the head.
How do you reconcile, or how did you reconcile the fact Emily being such a strong, independent, very smart woman, and yet she gets into an abusive relationship? That happens all too often in real life. And then you show the audience that there is a way out. There is a way out if you fight. How does that make you feel? I mean, and how did
Yeah.
put those two different character aspects together?
Well, I think that we too often associate abuse with somebody who is the opposite of, strong and independent and all these things. But the truth is that everyone can experience that type of unhealthy relationship, that type of violence, that type of, whether it starts in childhood or, it develops later on. And, we don't just, it's not what we just picture in our heads. And so I
Mm-hmm.
actually like that Emily isn't what we've seen typically. We're all susceptible to that.
Yeah.
And we're all also susceptible to repeating bad relationships or patterns, or not seeing things clearly, or listening to red flags. It's not everyone has that fallibility in them to sort of be with the wrong person, and it's no one's fault. It's just everyone is
Yeah.
susceptible to that.
And
So
you're
I
right,
think,
those stereotypes of somebody who's in an abusive relationship just being weak is not accurate. And I'm glad
no.
that this touches on that.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, actors sometimes when they play a character sticks with them, whether it's a small amount or a big amount. They take them with them. With Emily, is there any part of Emily in what you learned in playing Emily that you will carry on into other roles in your career?
Yeah, I think her strength and her confidence. And I've really, really noticed that doing this press, remembering, that experience, that a month and a half in Louisiana filming gave me as a person so much. I felt, it was such a big task. And the fact that I got to do it and with the support of Yoko and Jolene, I feel more powerful. I feel more capable.
That's
And I
awesome.
think, yeah, I think Emily gave that to me for sure. So
That's awesome. Midori, I want to
yeah.
thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your thoughts. They were truly fascinating. Again, guys, the movie is called Unseen. It is streaming now on your on demand platform of choice. Check this out. This film is so multi layered, we can't put it into just a single sentence. I want to thank our guest, Midori Francis, who is one of the stars of the film. Thank our audience, those of you who are tuning in live and those of you who will be watching later on. On behalf of Midori and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. That was awesome.